And I came up this morning to talk about African Commonwealth, global African Commonwealth, and the reason why we as black folk around the world must actively engage in building such a Commonwealth rather than belonging to other people's Commonwealth. Like what we see in Africa today, you have French Commonwealth and you have English Commonwealth. Some African countries that were colonized by England, they are under the British Commonwealth, while 14 African countries that were colonized by France are part of the Commonwealth. And that Commonwealth include Canada as well, Australia, the UK, and most of the islands of the Caribbean that were colonized by either the French or the English. And the Spanish also have their own Commonwealth with Spanish-speaking countries in Central and South America. I don't think at this point in time in 2025, the way the world is changing for us as black people, especially in the mother continent, to engage ourselves with this foreign colonial Commonwealth. So it's the responsibility of young Africans, the Gen Zs, to say no to their various corrupt governments that are misappropriating and misgoverning their natural resources and human resources and selling it to the highest bidder within these corrupt organizations that are perpetuating neocolonialism. This is a conversation that I want to have with all my supporters, all my followers on TikTok. And for those of you who have not followed me yet or subscribed to my YouTube channel, where I'm going to be beginning a podcast beginning January. That podcast is going to be headquartered in Nairobi, Kenya. As you all know, Nairobi is fast becoming the most consequential city in the entire continent of Africa. Even the UN is moving their headquarters from New York to Nairobi. A huge part of the UN headquarters is going to be moving to Nairobi. So for those of you who don't know, Nairobi is emerging as the most consequential black capital in the world. So we have to pay attention to the changing global political landscape. And this includes every one of us who is an African or descendant of African, including our brothers and sisters in North America. The FBAs, the ADOS, the African Americans, the Black Americans, even the Native Americans, the ones that are black. Because we know there are some African Americans, or there are some African Americans who have indigenous or Native American, some parts of them are Native American ancestry. But the fact still remains, the African gene is the dominant gene, because we Africans, we are the only one we are the only Homo sapien sapien with the mitochondrial DNA. So we are the dominant race on the planet, irrespective of our current physical condition or financial condition. We are still the Homo sapien sapien, and we must recognize that. So you, as an African person with slivers of DNA from other races that came also from African, should not be running away from your Homo sapien sapien DNA, because your Homo sapien sapien DNA and your melanin distinguish you as the mother and father of the human race herself. Now, let me get on to the topic. The African People's Commonwealth is not just a Commonwealth that should benefit continental Africans. African People's Commonwealth should benefit all continental Africans and descendants of African in various parts of the world. Just as the European Commonwealth benefit all Europeans and descendants of Europe around the world. That is why the Europeans around the world, they enjoy a higher standard of living than any of our black people around the world. Europeans, no matter where they are, in South Africa, in Australia, in New Zealand, in North America, in South America, in Central America, in Asia, Europeans live a higher standard of living. Why? It's because they are interconnected and they have a code, and that code is European Commonwealth, which means they fight to get to the top and stay there, and they participate in staying into the top together. They have differences, right? Europeans have differences, don't get it wrong. The Germans sometimes might not like the French, or the French might not like the British, or the English, or the English might not like the Spanish, or the Swedish, or whatever, the Nordic people might not like, you know, they have their problems, right? But when it comes to international economics, they make sure that they dominate the international economic and share the loot among themselves. So we as black people around the world, rather than continually protesting European neocolonialism, protesting European global economic dominance, we should be striving to build our own Commonwealth to compete with them. The Chinese have given us a blueprint. The Chinese have given black people around the world a blueprint on how to fight for global economic dominance. And rather than us following the Chinese blueprint, we are here arguing about our identities. I am Nigerian, I'm Igbo, I'm Yoruba, I am FBA, I'm Edos, I'm Zulu, I'm Sona, I'm Kikuyu, I am Ashanti. All those things, we are what we are. We shouldn't be fighting over our identities, who is better. We should be fighting for our race to move forward. We should be fighting for our race. I am not saying our identities should not be respected. We have to embrace our identities. We have to cherish our identities. We have to, because our diversity as black people around the world is our strength. But we have to move one step ahead of our various cultural diversities as Igbos, as Yorubas, as Bayangs, as African Americans, as Afro-Jamaicans, as Afro-Latinos, as Afro-Haitians, as Afro-Cubanos. We have to move one step ahead of that and recognize that our identity doesn't supersede our race. The European identity, the European race supersedes the European identity. The Chinese, the Asian race, or East Asians or Chinese, if you watch carefully what the Chinese are doing, the Chinese race, or the Asians, if you want to call them that, it supersedes their identities. Because in China is not just one people, Mandarin Chinese. They have Han Chinese, right? Then they also have people in Macau. China have different tribes as well. But their race as Asians or as North Asians supersedes those identities. That is why China, the Chinese government, is trying to find has been successful in corralling those different identities, respecting them, and projecting the Chinese people as one. So it's same thing with Africa. It's same thing with African diaspora. Because the moment we start allowing our various identities as African Americans or FBA or Edos or Igbo or Ashanti or Yoruba or whatever you want to call it, supersede our race, that is weakness. It's easy for us to be defeated and stay down because we are fighting as small factions. We are not fighting as one. So we cannot compete with the rest of the world, because the rest of the world is cohesive. India is 1.6 billion people, right? China is 1.4, 1.5 billion people. The continent of Africa is 1.5 billion people, but Africans are more populated around the world than any other human race. But because we are so divided and we are fighting over our identities, we are at the bottom of Human Development Index. So we have to move past our cultural diversity. Listen, I didn't say don't respect it. Respect our cultural diversity. Embrace our cultural diversity, which is our particular identity. But our race should supersede that. For instance, if you watch our discourse, our social discourse as black people around the world, let's take United States as an example. You have European Americans who want to build their whites-only settlements. European Americans who have decided to build whites-only community. What you see on the media is black people congregating on the social media space and debating amongst themselves for hours about white people who are trying to build whites-only communities. Now, for those of you who still subscribe to Christianity, in your Bible, in the book of Genesis 1:26, what it says? Genesis 1:26. Man is created in the image and likeness of the Creator, if you want to use God. So why is it that you as an African, you are sitting down debating about another race of people who have decided that they don't want to be close to you, they want to build their own whites-only settlement? I don't see anything wrong with that. And if you as an African person or a black person or an African American or an ADOS or an FBA or whatever you come from, if you look like me, and you are worried and angry that people have chosen to build their own communities, that they want to segregate themselves, let them go. What is your business in it? Why can't you build your own and defend it? Because I can guarantee you, when people build those communities like in South Africa, which I don't support, build communities like Orania, they are ready to defend it. They are ready to defend it. So why you, as an African American, a black American or an African, why are you complaining about these people who have decided to build their communities for themselves? It's their choice. Let them live their life. You go build your own and defend it. You will never see Chinese people on social media complaining about a whites-only town. Because when Chinese come into a country, what do? They set up Chinatown. And if you go to most Chinatown, most of the businesses and infrastructure in Chinatown is owned by the Chinese. When they go there. You all know what I'm talking about. So if Chinese are doing the same thing, they build Chinatown. The only difference with the Chinese Chinatown is, Chinese Chinatown, they don't attack people who don't look like Chinese when they come to that Chinese Chinatown, right? So if you think that they're gonna attack you in a whites only town, why the hell do you want to bother going there in the first place? Why are you begging for adjacency? Build your own. You don't have to keep begging to live among people who don't want to live with you. And you don't have to hate them for not wanting to live with you. There are already black communities in America. If you go to parts of Washington, D.C., Southeast Washington, D.C., you go to Southside Chicago, you go to Houston, you go to South Carolina, North Carolina, there are already black communities. But you know why? You know why nobody wants to come and stay in the black community? Because we ourselves are mismanaging our own communities. Then those of us who succeed to make it in our community, what do? They run to go and live in other people's communities that they have built, and those people don't want them there, but they go there because they are running away from our communities. Why can't we build up our own communities and take care of ourselves and live our own lives without paying attention and sitting on social media and debating about other people who don't want us to come into their community? You see that we are the problems ourselves, because we are paying too much attention, giving too much time what the other people are doing when we already know what type of people they are. If you already know, if you have a friend or you know a couple of people and you already know their character, right? You deal with them according to their character. If you know that somebody don't like you, somebody don't want to be around you, why are you forcing yourself to be around them? Or why do you spend so much time talking about them, not wanting to be around you? So we have to focus as black people. Candidly, we have more natural resources. And we have the largest human resources on planet Earth. Why are we begging? Why are we focused on other people's commonwealth? Why are we not thinking of coming together to build our own commonwealth? For the past couple of days, I've been offloading on African on the FBAs. I don't hate FBA. I don't. FBA is just an identity. People who are descendants of my formerly enslaved African ancestors. I don't hate them. What I am calling for them to do is to do the same thing that those people are doing in their own communities. So instead of them talking about delineating from other black folks around the world, they should be delineating from the people who put them in that condition in the first place. Then building their own parallel economic structure. Trading around the world. Become international business people. Investing in multinational corporations that also participate in global economy. That is the right way to delineate. You don't delineate yourself as a Nigerian by just thinking that I'm Igbo, I'm going to delineate myself as an Igbo. You have to be able to use your natural and human resources to build a competent parallel economic platform that has global implications for you to survive. But if you say, I'm Igbo, I want to delineate as an Igbo, I just want to do business with Igbo people, you're just going to end up in Anambra and Onitsha. And you cannot become an international business person. You can only, you have a limit. The richest black man in the world, Aliko Dangote, he is an international businessman. He don't just sell jet fuel or petroleum products or cement to Hausa people, the tribe that he come from. Aliko Dangote is selling cement, is selling sugar, is selling petroleum globally. That is what makes him the richest black man in the world. The richest black people in Africa, they engage in global business in as much as most of the majority of them are not good for the continent, because they are also joining with the exploiter to exploit African natural resources for their own self-centered gain. Except for this man, Aliko Dangote. He is a crown jewel of what an African billionaire should be. Somebody who is engaged in developing the entire continent. Who is not just after becoming the richest man in the world, but he's after becoming the man who set Africa to a path of success. And this success should include all of us as Africans and descendants. So if you're an African American, you are a multi-million-dollar African American basketball player. You want to protect your money. What do? You invest and buy shares in Dangote refineries. You invest and buy shares in Dangote cement, given the fact that Africa is growing and Africa is the future of global economy. That's why the Chinese, the Europeans, they are running over to Africa to invest and own critical infrastructure. So you as an African American, you can participate in that also and become rich in America, because you are participating in building continental Africa. It's not just one country, it's a continent. That is what we call Commonwealth. And in the meantime, those of us amongst us, or African Americans who have the access to financial capital, should start building up their own cities. There is no reason why African American neighborhoods they don't own their own grocery stores. They don't own their own clinics. They don't own their own banks. These things happened before, right? Like, we know what happened in Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We know what happened in Rosewood. We know in Florida. We know all these things, right? They were burned to the ground, right? We know. That is why I made the statement, build and defend. Build and defend, because those other communities that the white people are building, they are ready to defend it. They don't just build it without the capacity to defend it. Build and defend. That is what Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing in Burkina Faso. That is what Assimi Goïta is doing in Burkina Faso. That's what General Tiani is doing. Build and defend. Because the human race is a jealous race. If you build and you are not capable of defending, it will be destroyed. It will be destroyed from jealousy. Even some of your own African brothers will destroy it out of jealousy. It doesn't take another race of people to destroy what you have built. There are some black people who have the quality of destruction that even some of our own black people will try to destroy it. Even some black people will collect money, bribery, to destroy it. It doesn't have to be a European who come and destroy the black neighborhood. They will pay a black man to destroy the black neighborhood. And the black man will take that money just because he alone, he will be rich. So, that does not stop us. You build and you defend. Stop troubling yourself or stop getting angry that people are building all white communities or Chinatowns. Build your own Africa towns. Nobody is stopping you. If you say you are indigenous, if you say you are foundational, build your own foundational black American towns. And if you already have neighborhoods that is majority to you, what is stopping you from not building that neighborhood up? So you own the infrastructure of that neighborhood, which is already existing. So if you have your own neighborhood and you are living at the mercy, or you are renting from the same people that you perceive that don't like you, you are just existing. You cannot call yourself foundational in any country when you don't own the foundation. You understand? You got it? Even in Africa, you cannot call yourself foundational when you don't own the foundation upon which you are standing on. This is not bashing. This is an education. I'm educating. Likewise in Africa, for you to be able to call yourself the owner of the continent, you should be able to build and defend. That is why I support people like Ibrahim Traore. Build and defend. Jerry John Rawlings of Ghana, he did this. Jerry John Rawlings, build and defend. Muhammad Gaddafi, build and defend. Ahmed Sekou Touré, build and defend. So, the fact is, we must embrace all our identities. We must not be against any group of black people who want to identify themselves as such. It's their right. But that identity doesn't supersede the race. Europeans are Europeans. Europeans are Europeans, no matter if they are Germans. Germans are Europeans. English are Europeans. Scottish are Europeans. Spanish are Europeans. Slovenians are Europeans. Their race has a quest of global economic and military dominance. Right? So, when they go out as a race of people to conquer and dominate. Then they share the loot based on who is leading the pack. Even lions, when they hunt in a pack. They hunt together in the animal kingdom. The lions hunt together, then they share. But they fight among themselves sometimes. But when a group of lions, they see a gazelle, right? The group of lions automatically unite to attack the gazelle for a meal. That is how Europeans are. That is how Chinese are. That is how Indians are. But we black folk, instead of focusing on the gazelle, we start running in 1,000 different directions. We as black people, sometimes we join with the enemy to fight against what we are fighting for. You see the problem? So when we talk about we have done this, our ancestors did that before. Why is it that we in 2025, as the descendants of those ancestors who did that before, why can't we replicate it? Why can't the continent of Africa replicate what our ancestors did in Kemet? Why can't Africans reconstruct what our ancestors did in Egypt? Why can't Africans replicate what our ancestors did in Shongai Empire, in Oduduwa? Why? It's because we have been spiritually brainwashed, and Christianity is still playing the biggest part in damaging the progress of black people around the world, including Islam from Arabia. Religion is the most dangerous weapon that has destroyed black people. I'm an apostle. I can tell you this as a fact. Religion is destroying black people. That is why I came up with the gospel of African self-reliance, where we don't just pray, we stop praying and start working. That is why we engage in commercial agriculture in Africa. That is why we engage in industry in Africa as a church community or as a synagogue community. We don't believe in praying for manners to come from heaven, and we believe to defend. We believe to fight and defend. We are not aggressors, but we are willing to defend. So if you as an African, the vast majority of Africans who subscribe to Islam or subscribe to Christianity, you all have become the sheep and the wolves is eating all of us. And when I say African, in the continent and outside, because we have been programmed, we are wired now to act as second tier in the world, or third. Everybody's moving ahead of us, but we possess the largest natural and human resources, but we are running in 1,000 different directions. We are running in 1,000 different directions. And that 1,000 different directions is so many factors. And some of us are too easily deceived with material things. The average black man in the world, in America or in Caribbean or in Africa or wherever, they are willing to take bribe to sell their own community. That's a fact. The average black man in the world, whether African American or African in the continent or Caribbean island, they are willing to take a bribe to sell out their own people. That is how morally bankrupt black folk globally are. So, if you listen to everything that I'm saying, I am not just bashing. I am talking about solutions. For those of you who have been following me, you know what is on my timeline. And for those of you, I will say it again. Please go subscribe to my YouTube page, because I'm going to begin a Commonwealth, African Commonwealth podcast in January, to try to teach Africans on how to build a Commonwealth. And I will be inviting black folk who are successful, who are even more knowledgeable than me, because I don't know everything. I don't. I'm learning as well. So I want to hear from other Africans who have something to say about this. I want to hear from other Africans who are willing to work with me. I want to hear from other Africans who are willing to come up and give their own perspective on how we as a people can move forward, instead of complaining about what other people are doing to us. We are not victims. We should stop being victims. I am not a victim. I don't give one to fucks if Chinese are building Chinatown, or white people are building white Ole Town. But the only My only problem is we don't want that inside our own geographical space, which is Africa. But anywhere in the world, in North America or wherever in the world that they want to build white only town, that is their business. It's come to the point where I can't sincerely say I hate them. Right? I can't sincerely say I hate white people now. I just let them be, do their own thing, and let's focus on doing our own thing. That's all. So, my brothers and sisters, it's a matter of we moving forward and stop complaining about other people's stuff. That's basically it. So it's definitely, I know I am not naive. I know that the vast majority of black people will not understand or support what I'm saying. And also I'm in no illusion that it's gonna take but a few frontier black men and a few frontier black women to build forward. Look at what is happening across the continent in Africa. It takes just a few to change. It did not take the whole of Burkina Faso to begin the process of transforming Burkina Faso. It took a few under the leadership of Captain Traoré. It took a few under the leadership of Assimi Goïta in Mali. It don't take a whole lot of people, because all our people can never be on board. Black people in the continent and outside of the continent, we cannot expect that all 2-3 billion of us should be on board a project. But we can identify and know that we can actually move forward by being focused on what we're going to achieve as a people. Because if you already know the enemy, if you already identify the enemy, if you already identify the character of your enemy, if you already identify the character of the person that you are competing with, you should not concentrate on complaining on what they are doing. You should concentrate on building your own capacity to compete with them neck to neck. That is what the Chinese have done. You never saw the Chinese marching marching and begging for civil rights from Europe. When Hong Kong was still colonized by England, the Chinese in China were not marching in Beijing protesting against Europe. When 1999 came, when Hong Kong was supposed to be handed back to China, 500,000 Chinese military lined up at the border, because England was trying to, the UK was trying to renege on giving up Hong Kong. The eve of the Hong Kong transfer to China, 500,000 Chinese army was at the border. And England decided to withdraw and allow Hong Kong to be reverted back to China. You understand what I'm saying? So, but China was not the aggressor. China was not the colonizer. China was only taking what belongs to her. But China projected that we are ready to fight for what we own. And that is why the vast majority of black people around the world, they love Captain Ibrahim Traoré. When Captain Ibrahim says, c'est la souveraineté ou la mort. It's sovereignty or death. That's what he said in French. Souveraineté ou la mort. That's what he said. For those of you who don't speak French, that is what Captain Ibrahim said. He said sovereignty or death. And every single group around this world have the same motto. If you go to United States in New Hampshire, what is the motto of New Hampshire? Live free or die. The Europeans who settled in New Hampshire in the United States, they have a motto, live free or die. Because every other group around the world understand that freedom that you cannot defend is not freedom. Freedom that you beg for, to be given to you, is not freedom. The freedom that you come to the world, that creation bestowed upon you, that is real freedom. That is the freedom you must defend. So this complaining and whining, oh, the white people are doing that, the white people are doing this. Yes, we understand. History happened, the white people did all the bullshit, right? But in 2025, we should not continue pointing finger at the white people because we have the same intellectual capacity to build our own like the Chinese. As a matter of fact, I do not hate white people. I don't hate Europeans. I recognize their game. I do recognize their game. I don't hate Europeans. If you want to call them white people, the fictitious identity. I don't hate white people. I don't hate Chinese people. I don't hate Indians. I recognize their game. So we as black people, we should play the same game. Match the energy. Like some of my FBA brothers will say. Match the energy. You understand? Why do you have to? And now, if you are an African and you are immigrating into the United States or going to England or going to France, I don't have any problem with that because you are chasing the money that is stole from your African continent. So for those of you, black people, who will be attacking other black people, oh, why did you run from Ghana to the UK? Why do you live in Africa? No. That African who is leaving Ghana to go to the UK has all the right because the money, the gold that was stolen in Ghana is sitting in the vault in England. And if that Ghanaian goes to the UK and stay on business and achieve something there and go back home, it's their right because they are chasing their stolen property from Ghana. The money in UK doesn't come from UK. The money in UK comes as a result of international business and mineral and natural resources exploitation around the world. That includes all developed countries. So if you are living from a poor country to go to a rich country, the question should be, what has that rich country done to deserve the money they got? You understand? What has Britain done? What has England done to get all the gold that they done? England don't have a single gold mine, but they have the largest gold reserve. So you will be very stupid to say, why is a Ghanaian leaving Ghana and going to England to collect the stolen gold? If I may correct it. Or why will a Zairuan leave and be going to Belgium to take a piece of the stolen resources that have been stolen from their country? I hope you all are learning something. And up to this day, there are still a lot of Europeans who are going to Africa to do business to make money in Africa. Yes. I'm a businessman. I've seen I'm in a hotel in Nairobi or in a hotel in Rwanda, in an international hotel, a 5-star hotel. 90% of the hotel that I live in Africa, there are white people inside from Europe to come and do business in Africa. Why are they coming if Africa was poor? When I stayed in Zanzibar for 1 week at a 5-star hotel in Zanzibar, 98% of the guests in the hotel were white folk. Why are they in Zanzibar? So if you are a black person or a white person in Europe or in America who is saying, why are the Africans coming over here? Right? Africans also can say, why are all the white people coming over to Africa? You understand? Why are all the white people going to China? Why are all the Chinese coming to Africa? So it's a simple and stupid argument. And anybody who think that the white people are going to Africa on vacation, they are total idiots. Total idiots. Total idiots. So, I'm calling on the few black people who understand what I'm saying. Ignore debating with idiots on this topic. It's not going to go anywhere. Because most of the idiots, jealousy is also a is also a huge part of what their motivation. Jealousy is a huge part of their motivation. For example, a lot of people living around the world don't know that the leading supplier of jet fuel on right now is an African. Dangote refineries. That's the leading supplier of high quality jet fuel out of the biggest oil refinery on the planet right now, even more than Saudi Arabian Aramco, even more than the Saudi Aramco. When this refinery was being built, even MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, they tried to convince him not to build this refinery in Nigeria. He refused. He built it with African money, his own money. He invested $20 billion and the African Development Bank invested over $8 billion in that project. And today is the largest oil refinery with the biggest capacity to produce jet fuel. This is what we need to be doing. You can go to New York Stock Exchange and tap Dangote refineries and buy share from there if you are a black man living in America. You can go to New York Stock Exchange and tap Dangote refineries and buy share in the largest oil refinery on the planet right now. Built in Nigeria by an African billionaire. So, ignorant people around the world don't understand what is going on. There are a lot of European Americans who are doing business in Africa. It's only the simple idiots who don't understand global economics, who don't understand that monies in each country, depending on what the country produces, that is what brings the money in, because they sell the product outside of the country. America produces and sell outside, and the money comes back into America. That is what creates a strong economy, with the other things attached to it, like the Bretton Woods system, the SWIFT system, because the dollar is the dominant currency on the planet. So Americans benefit from that as well. And America is willing to defend the dollar as the base currency in the world, using the most powerful military in human history. The Chinese are working on that as well. The Russians are doing the same thing. The Europeans are waking up from sleep. And we Africans are sitting there and be complaining about a few white people who went up to the mountain in Ozarks trying to build a white community. Let them be. Do you want to go and live there with them? People decided not to work. They don't want to be around you. Why are we discussing about them? Why are we even angry? Let them go stay there themselves. Because those are people who have failed. Because they had all the opportunity given to them for 400 years. But they failed. Now they want to go and live in a mountain. Let them live up in the mountain by themselves. And we can concentrate on building our own communities. We're building our own schools, building our own clinics, our own supermarkets as black folk in America or in the continent or in the Caribbean. So we should care less. So for those of you who are misunderstanding me, I don't bash any group of black people. I don't. I only get passionate. Sometimes I may speak louder because I'm passionate. I'm passionate, and I feel very disturbed when I see black people are being corralled like sheep going to the slaughter. Because I love all black people. They might not sound like me. They might not carry the same passport like me. They might not be from the same country like me. But nonetheless, I love all black people. And when I see black people being led like sheep into the slaughter, I get passionate about it and I try to advise them. And one of the things that black people should do, black people should ignore people who don't want to be close to them. If Indians don't want to be close to you, why the hell you bother? You have the same capacity that creation give you. Don't be close to them as well. So that's where I look at the whole thing. To be honestly, I don't see any reason why in 2025 we should be hating any other person, or we should be concerned that they want to migrate and form their own thing. Let them form their own thing, and we should think about forming our own thing. That's why I leave it today for all of you, my brothers and sisters, because I believe that we have the capacity to build up our own communities. And when we start doing that, we will not be bothered about other people. When we start building our own black communities in Africa, in America, in the Caribbean, in South America, we're not going to be bothered about what anybody think about us. The Chinese don't give 1-2 fucks what Europeans think about them. The Chinese don't give a damn what Europeans think about them, because the Chinese know that they are capable of doing whatever achieving whatever they want. They are not begging the Europeans. The Europeans will find a way to trade with them because they know that they are equals. We Africans will have even a much stronger capacity to replicate what the Chinese have done 1,000 times with our enormous blessings of natural and human resources. I love you all, my African brothers and sisters in the continent. I love you all, the FBAs in America. I love you all, Afro-Caribbeans. I love you all, Afro-Latinos. I love you all. I love you all, the Aborigines in New Guinea, Papua, in Australia. I love you all. Focus on building your own community and stop whining and complaining and trying to gravitate and beg for acceptance for people that have shown clearly that they don't want to be around you. Match the energy. Thank you all and have a great day.